Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel where we cut through the fog of war to unpack the real stories shaping our world. Today, we're diving into a development that's sending shockwaves from the trenches of eastern Ukraine all the way to the marble halls of the Kremlin. It's December 2nd, 2025, and Russia has just dropped a bombshell. President Vladimir Putin is celebrating what his military calls the full liberation of Pokrovsk, a gritty industrial city in the heart of the Donbas region. But hold on, because Ukraine is firing back hard, saying not so fast. Their troops are still dug in deep in the northern districts, trading blows with Russian forces in what sounds like a chaotic urban brawl. And the timing? It's no coincidence. This announcement lands like a precision strike, right on the eve of crucial talks in Moscow between Putin and Steve Witkoff, Donald Trump's hand-picked special envoy, who's there with heavy hitters like Jared Kushner to hammer out a potential peace deal after nearly 4 brutal years of conflict. So, what's really going on here? Is this a genuine turning point on the battlefield? A calculated show of strength to juice up Russia's bargaining position? Or just the latest chapter in this endless cycle of claims and counterclaims? Let's break it down step by step, starting with why Pokrovsk even matters in the first place. Picture this. Pokrovsk isn't some sleepy backwater. Before the war, it was home to over 60,000 people, a vital rail and road hub pumping out coking coal that's essential for steel production, Ukraine's economic lifeblood in the east. For Russia, seizing it isn't just about planting a flag, it's about cracking open the door to bigger prizes like Kramatorsk and Sloviansk, the last major Ukrainian strongholds in Donetsk province. Moscow's been hammering at this city since mid-2024, throwing wave after wave of assaults in a meat grinder campaign that's cost them dearly in lives and equipment. Ukrainian defenders, outnumbered but fierce, have turned it into a fortress of rubble and resolve, using drones, artillery, and those infamous street traps to bleed the invaders dry. Putin himself popped up in a weekend video from a frontline command post, dressed in his signature military chic, nodding along as generals briefed him on the so-called progress. He called it an important victory in an important area. We all understand just how important, those words dripping with that classic Kremlin understatement. Fast forward to yesterday, and state media rolls out footage of Russian flags fluttering over what they say are the last Ukrainian positions, with troops mopping up pockets of resistance. It's the kind of imagery designed to rally the home front and remind the world that Russia's grind is paying off, inch by bloody inch. But here's where it gets messy, and honestly, that's the story of this war in a nutshell. Ukraine's Eastern Command isn't buying it for a second. In a sharp Facebook post this morning, they laid it out plain. Search and assault operations continue. Enemy elements are being eliminated in urban zones, and they've even pushed back into southern sectors with counterattacks. They're holding logistics lines, resupplying under fire, and insisting the north of the city remains firmly in Kiev's grip. No full capture, no surrender, just the relentless churn of attrition. Zelensky himself, wrapping up a whirlwind European tour in Dublin, didn't mince words either, accusing Moscow of spinning a fresh disinformation campaign to hype up their narrative right as the diplomats circle. And you can see why he'd say that, because if Russia did pull off a clean sweep here, it would be their biggest win in months, flipping the momentum after a summer of stalled offensives. But based on independent trackers like the Institute for the Study of War, the reality looks more like a partial encirclement, with Ukrainian units slipping through gaps and regrouping. Casualties on both sides? Skyrocketing, with reports of thousands lost in the push, turning Pokrovsk into another symbol of this conflict's tragic futility. Now, zoom out to the bigger picture, because this isn't happening in a vacuum. While shells rain down on Donbas, the real fireworks might be in that Moscow meeting room today. Steve Witkoff, the New York real estate mogul turned Trump troubleshooter, flew in with a U.S.-drafted peace blueprint that's got everyone on edge. It's based on those Geneva talks from last month, aiming to freeze the front lines, maybe recognize some Russian gains de facto without full legal handover, and slap limits on Ukraine's military to keep NATO at bay. Putin, for his part, has been crystal clear. He wants the Donbas locked in, Crimea off the table forever, and no Western meddling in Ukraine's future. Trump's team is optimistic, talking about only a few sticking points left, but European allies are sweating bullets, fearing this could carve up Ukraine without real security guarantees. Ukraine's new chief negotiator, Rustem Umerov, huddled with Witkoff just days ago, pushing for ironclad NATO backstops and billions more in aid from places like the UK and Canada. And get this, NATO's Mark Rutte is briefing foreign ministers tomorrow, promising fresh equipment drops to keep Ukraine in the fight if talks sour. So, yeah, Pokrovsk feels like Putin's opening bid, a way to strut into the room with fresh battlefield cred, whispering to Witkoff, "See, we're winning, so why not cut a deal on our terms?" What does this mean for the war's trajectory? If Russia's claim holds water, even partially, it could unhinge Ukraine's entire eastern defense, forcing a costly retreat and sapping morale just as winter bites. But if Kiev's holding, as they say, it buys time for those peace overtures to mature without total collapse. Either way, the human toll is heartbreaking. Families shattered, cities scarred, and a generation caught in the crossfire. Trump's push for a quick fix is bold, maybe even naive, but in a world tired of proxy wars, it might be the spark needed to douse the flames. Or it could backfire, emboldening Putin to double down on maximalist demands, dragging this out into 2026 and beyond. As Witkoff shakes hands with Putin this afternoon, the eyes of the world will be on whether diplomacy can outpace the drones and howitzers. Thanks for sticking with me through this analysis, folks. If Pokrovsk's fate keeps you up at night like it does me, smash that like button, subscribe for more unfiltered takes on the Ukraine saga, and let me know in the comments, breakthrough or bluff? Drop your predictions below. Until next time, stay vigilant, stay informed, and remember, in the fog of war, the truth is our best weapon. See you soon.